Manufacturing drives economic growth, and that is a fact. There is clear evidence that a thriving manufacturing sector is key to increased productivity and thereby economic growth. The advent of manufacturing in the 18th and 19th centuries revolutionized the productive structure of Europe and the United States, and industrialization has been the driving force behind more recent economic miracles, such as the transformation of the East Asian economies since the 1960s. According to Lee Young, a former Director General of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, this is because manufacturing offers several productive advantages. First, mass production entails economies of scale. The more units produced, the lower the per unit cost, and thereby increasing the value of outputs per input. Second, manufacturing tends to have strong linkages to other parts of the economy, creating demand for skills, inputs, manufacturing components, transportation, and storage. This means that growth in manufacturing boosts growth throughout a broader set of activities, including the service sector. Third, most innovation and technological advances originate in the manufacturing sector, which can then feed into other economic sectors, making them more productive as well. The relationship between industry and growth generally holds across countries and income levels. International data confirms that the proportion of manufacturing in the economy rises as gross domestic product increases for low, lower middle, and upper middle income countries. This correlation only reverses once a country becomes a high-income economy, where services start to take a relatively higher share than manufacturing. Technical education equips man with the technological capability needed to drive rapid industrialization. Technological capability distinguishes a strong economy from a weak one, and also creates the goods and services needed for survival and growth in today's world. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund is strengthening the triple helix model, which links government, the industries, and the academia together as a formidable team to usher Nigeria into the age of the knowledge economy. These are the chronicles of the journey to institutionalize research and development in Nigeria. Hello, and welcome to this edition of TETFund, The Paradigm Shift. I am Stanley Bentu. Now let's take a moment to reflect on the value of the Naira, which today exchanges for 415 Naira to the dollar and 600 to the dollar at the official and black markets rates, respectively. And yet, if we go back all the way to the starting point when the Naira was introduced, the country's then new currency exchanged for less than 1 Naira to the dollar. So, how did we fall so far? If you ask most Nigerians, they would chuck it down to corruption of public officials. But the story is more complicated and more large-scale than that. Whether it's crude oil, palm oil, cocoa, or solid minerals, Nigeria has always largely based its economy on income that it can receive from raw materials. As a matter of fact, just listening to a lot of Nigerians speak on what they believe would make this country wealthy, much of what you will hear is based on or related to raw materials.
Nigeria is blessed with rich natural resources, we'll have oil, we'll have gold, we'll have rubbers, we'll have cocoa. We have so many things in Nigeria. There is nothing you can think about that is not in Nigeria.
All the resources we have in Nigeria, we have a lot. We have the whole mineral resources. You can see like the bamboo we are wasting here, people are using it to create this charcoal. And it's very expensive in the world. And here we are just throwing it away, wasted. The trees we have here, we are not using it for good reason. We burn it to ashes. There is many resources we have. Forget about diamond, gold, those ones we all know. Everybody knows that Nigeria have those things.
We have the human resources is one, which is our population. Then we have other natural resources, petroleum, name them. We have all the solid minerals that we have, but yet we are not utilizing them to the fullest capacity.
But here's the thing. Basically, the refining process is a complex process, and it costs money. So when we focus purely on exporting raw materials, while at the same time developing an insatiable taste for refined products, when we get the finished products that were made from the raw materials that we exported, the prices are much higher. The ultimate flow of the aggregate wealth is outwards rather than inwards. Let me give you an example with one of our favorite things to consume, rice. The price of raw unprocessed rice in the market could be around 18,000 naira per sack. But processing rice is complex, so the price of processed rice can go from anywhere between 21 to 30,000 naira. And this means that the job to save the naira is not just in the hands of the people in government. It's up to each and every one of us, what we do and how we choose to live. It means that Nigeria cannot get to where it needs using crude oil and other raw materials. Our industries are essential. Manufacturing is absolutely necessary, and research and development is the true secret. Now, this is why TETFund applies the triple helix model. The government, the industry, and the academia working together. We have the academia for groundbreaking knowledge and ideas, industry for scale-up and investment, and government for policy and coordination. We cannot be satisfied with a raw material-driven economy. It's all about complexity of goods that we produce. Development economist Tope Fashua gives us a breakdown of why industry, manufacturing, and R&D are at the heart of any economic revolution.
And what it just means is how complex are the goods that you produce as a country. In fact, perhaps a better definition is how much thinking goes into the goods and services you produce as a people. So if all the country does is plant crops, it's good to plant crops, you know. You put it in the ground, you till the soil, you weed the soil, and you harvest and you put it in a bag, right? Great stuff. It still matters, people have to eat. But if what a country does is, for example, produce something whereby I speak here and someone hears in China per second on a, without a break, then that country has done something that's actually the stuff of genius, and therefore such a country should, gets a lot more than the country that produces, food, which of course every society has a way of producing at least some of the foods that they need, So I think that's the reason why it's obvious that Naira cannot be at the same level as the dollar. The last time I checked, our largest import was technology. Even it outstrips refined petroleum. Technology, these laptops, these phones, software, subscriptions. If we really think about it, I tell people, there are few companies in the world who, even when you sleep, they're taking money from you. So you sleep and wake up and, you pick up your phone and it tells you your Facebook updated. Or your software update. What happens when there's a software update? It will not update except you're connected to the internet. When you're connected to the internet, it will take some of your data. So maybe 100 MB is gone overnight. You slept and woke up and things have updated. You don't know who collected the 100 MB. What is the reality is that all of a sudden you can't browse anymore. You have to pay more to update that. So you're not sure who took the 100 MB, which is money. And that's money. That's data is money. 2.5 billion people are on Facebook. If Facebook was a country, it would be India and China combined together with a little change left. You know what I'm saying? So if all that guy is doing is taking ₦1 from everybody every day, complexity. You see, complexity. Now, I ask people, how many tubers of yam or cassava do you need to sell to buy one Toyota Prado?
Well, I think Tokwe says it all. If all we have to exchange with the world is crude oil and yams, it may not give us enough purchasing power to afford complex products. Let's say the price of crude oil today is about 15,000 naira, and an iPhone 10 is roughly 280,000 naira. We would need to sell a whopping 19 barrels of oil for one iPhone. Having and exporting oil is good, but it's a means to an end and not an end in itself, as we've treated it since 1957. So how is TETFund playing a crucial part in making sure that this economic transformation comes to fruition through its mandate? Well, since 2018, the fund has been working very closely with the National Economic Summit Group, a partnership that President Muhammadu Buhari said that he was very pleased with. So much so that he said, and I quote, "Nigeria looks up to the academic community to use research and make their contributions to drive for a veritable knowledge economy, which is the trend in the 21st century." End quote. Well, TETFund is cementing this relationship by approving the setting up of a secretariat which will serve as the work base to make the partnership between government, the private sector, and the academic institutions fully operational. Let's take a look.
The Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFund, has approved the setting up of a secretariat to operationalize the partnership between government, the private sector, and academic institutions. The secretariat is to help enhance the country's drive towards a knowledge-based economy. The executive secretary of TETFund, architect Sonia Chono, who gave the approval in Abuja at a meeting with a delegation of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, led by its chief executive officer, Mr. Laoye Jayola, said the secretariat would be domiciled in NESG. He said the move was part of the synergy building efforts by the National Universities Commission and TETFund under its policy of the triple helix approach to research, which is anchored on government, the academia, and industry partnership. He described NESG as the policy arm or coordinating group for the Nigerian private sector and represents the industry, stressing that partnership with NESG is imperative to drive the concept of employability for graduates, improving curriculum delivery in institutions, making graduates of institutions more relevant to the workplace and the work opportunities of tomorrow.
But beyond that, just as why I go to giving a go-ahead today, that secretariat should be operationalized, because we need a structure to ensure that this happens. Because we cannot keep wishing it. We have to have a group between us. We send part of our members to like working, but the secretariat will be domiciled with you. And let's find a way of ensuring that we operationalize that. And let's start the work. Because all that remains really is the will to commence. A lot has gone on. About 4 different committees were set up in under the auspices of NUC, and we put at all the angles. I was glad a few days ago, we met with International Finance Corporation, the private sector arm of the World Bank, and they are already also collaborating with us. They want to assist us in an assessment and evaluation of the preparedness, the readiness of our institutions to imbibe this spirit of entrepreneurship and employability of graduates. Because they have the templates they've used in a number of countries where they are able to tell, and we say, okay, this type of baseline is good for us. Let's even know where we are starting from. So, as another step, but the real coordination of that policy, we will rely on the NESG to do. So, we'll expect from you going forward a work plan with specific timelines, and then what are the requirements, the deliverables, and targets. So we can now begin to walk this talk.
According to the TETFund bus, the fund has developed the idea to redefine the concept of sabbatical leave, which would take academics to the industry rather than other classrooms, so that they can contribute to research and development in a manufacturing environment, even as they regretted that the nation has almost lost the objective of the Students' Industrial Work Experience Scheme, CWES. Earlier, the CEO of NESG, Laoye Jayola, recalled that talks about the partnership began way back in 2018, stressing that all the issues that necessitated the partnership were still germane and relevant. He said the application of the triple helix model came out of the concern for development of industry, because the future of the industry is top priority.
Remind you the work that we started together sometime 2018, 2019. It was the 2018 work that culminated in a retreat in 2019, for which you were with us in Lagos, and for which you spent about 3 whole days articulating how can we put together a very variable triple helix. A lot of people talk about quadruple helix, but they came out of our concern for development in the industry. And I recall, I always share this story, you know very well. I'd gone to meet the ES of the NUC. He had just finished a work about the medium-term plan for the Nigerian university system and looking at a longer-term plan, Nigerian university in 2050. And he had done a compendium of work what is required. And he had shared with me, and I said, good work, but we're looking at it only from the supply side. Supply side will tell you this, but demand side, how are we looking at it? Because for me, it's about the future of industry, the future of work, the future of industry, data, detail of all the things that we need to look at. And so I said, how are we looking at it? And I did make a commitment that the private sector will be willing to work with the NUSC to ensure that we don't clap with one hand. I think I reached out to you, and then came to TETFund and said, look, I'm not only going to come as NUC, I will come with all the peripheral of the office, and with support of the minister, we then said, go ahead. And we have been waiting for how we can effectively drive this. I want to say that part of it, TETFund took the research aspect of it and began to work on it, and which led to the RDSF and all the work that's been done.
The NESG CEO stressed that the group must work closely with the NUC, whose executive secretary he had recently met, about the completion of the medium-term plan for the Nigerian university system, and to draw up the long-term plan for universities, which should last at least until 2050. Going into 2022, the NESG Economic Outlook for 2022 says that Nigeria has the opportunity to build on current growth performance by initiating tough economic reforms that would remove the constraints on the expansion of sectors of the economy and enhance the capacity to create more jobs and lift millions out of poverty. A close relationship with the academia is invaluable for this achievement.
The more goods and services that we can produce locally, the more money that we can keep in our economy. And the more money we keep, the faster we grow. Agriculture is perhaps the most significant business product that Nigeria has. Without subsistence agriculture, the tough times Nigerians are facing could become far much worse. But if we don't extensively industrialize agriculture or invest a lot of our human and material resources in agro-processing, which requires research and development, we will not hit the benchmark of a knowledge economy.
Food processing is an important activity related to the agricultural sector. Agro-processing is important for a number of reasons, chief of which is a reduction in post-harvest losses. Therefore, from a health and nutrition perspective, agro-processing has the potential to increase nutritional value and also increase food security through a reduction in food spoilage and wastage. Processed foods also enjoy greater price stability on the world markets and may therefore increase market opportunities for exports, contributing to income securities, particularly in rural communities, which are mostly engaged in farming. The development of the agro-processing industry may also promote employment generation, contribute to enterprise development, diversification of rural economies, import substitution, amongst others. Agro-processing is the most important subsector of the manufacturing sector, with food and beverages representing the largest component of processed commodities. There are lots of opportunities to add value to agricultural commodities. Export of processed horticultural products like fruits and beverages, for instance, has become increasingly significant in the Nigerian economy, particularly given the presence of a knowledgeable private sector. The president of the African Development Bank, ADB, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, speaks of new horizons being opened up by the agro-industrial zones in Nigeria.
We are strongly supporting Nigeria. And just last week, the African Development Bank and its partners came together for the design of the first phase of what we call special agro-industrial processing zones in Nigeria. These will help to transform agriculture in Nigeria, revive rural economies, boost food and agribusiness investments, and turn many rural areas from zones of economic misery to zones of economic prosperity. We have mobilized $520 million together with our partners in support of Nigeria. These will further help Nigeria to diversify its economy and, of course, boost jobs.
The potential is to really bring everything that investors need to one place. We go to a place that has high potential where we're working with farmers to increase their production, make sure they have the right inputs, make sure they have access to water, access to improved seeds, and then really making a place where there's the infrastructure such as electricity, water and sanitation, roads, buildings, that investors would need to invest in agro-processing, which is what farmers need. It provides them with the market. It really invests in jobs for the country and allows farmers to export their crops.
Nigeria is faced with many challenges today, but most of those problems require a technological and innovative approach to address them. The fact is that we cannot run a knowledge-based economy without placing emphasis on research and development. The NESG is a private sector-led think tank and policy advocacy group which promotes sustainable growth and the development of the Nigerian economy. The philosophy of the economic transformation of the NESG consists of education, stabilization, privatization, deregulation, infrastructure, and democratization. Seen as education is the first item mentioned here, the NESG TETFund relationship not only makes sense, but is one that is necessary for industrial growth, manufacturing, export promotion, and overall economic transformation. And that is the paradigm shift. Join us again on the next edition of the program. Until then, thank you for stopping by. Good night.